The National Bureau of Investigation says former Duterte administration spokesman Harry Roque may face charges of inciting to sedition after he called for protests against Duterte's arrest. Roque spoke in a TV interview in which he urged Duterte supporters to stage a demonstration along a Metro Manila highway where a 1986 uprising toppled then-President Ferdinand Marcos Sr. The NBI says it has traced Roque's whereabouts. He had fled the Philippines after he was implicated in the operations of the crime-infested offshore gaming industry.
Nagtatawag siya ng people power. Lumabas siya dito at nag-lead siya. Pumunta siya una sa EDSA at tawagin niya yung mga tao. Nagtatago siya, tapang-tapang niya. Ang laking kabalbalan yan. Itong mga ganitong klaseng tao, hindi sila leader. Mga hunghang yan. I'm sorry sa aking word.
A Philippine policewoman will sue the common law partner of ex-President Duterte for striking her on the head during the arrest of the former leader. Jeff Caparas reports.
The Philippine National Police is planning to press charges against the common law wife of former President Duterte for assaulting a cop during his arrest. The palace presented video footage Thursday that showed Hanilet Avancenia hitting one of the police personnel with her mobile phone. The Special Action Force member sought treatment after sustaining a huge lump on the head. The PNP says it is preparing a direct assault charge against Avancenia. The arresting team was also subjected to verbal abuse.
Yung mga pulis natin doon ay pinagmumura din at pinagsabihan ng masasakit na salita. Yun kitang-kita po kung paano po niya hinampas po. Kita po niyo dyan, ma'am, sa video is tinatabi po sila. Kasi po ang haba na po ng panahon na ibinigay sa kanila, and it has come to a point po na nagdesisyon po si General Torre na it has to stop.
One of those heard cursing was Duterte's daughter Veronica Kitty Duterte.
Sabihin niyo kung saan siya dalahin.
The target of her vitriol, the chief of the Criminal Investigation and Detection Group, Police Major General Nicolas Torre.
Ayos lang yun.
Part of the job?
I've seen worse. Sa kapal ng... Kaya kumapal ang balat ko eh. Sanay na to sa mura eh. Pagbigyan na natin. Bata pa yung bata na yan. Marami pa siyang maiintindihan sa mundo pagdating ng panahon. Nothing personal.
The PNP also plans to file charges against former Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea after he attempted to prevent them from doing their job.
Pinusasan ko na si E.S. Medialdea eh. Alam nila na seryoso na ako. Inuna ko na si E.S. Medialdea, pinusasan ko seryoso na ako. Pinakita ko na talaga na pag hindi nila ginawa ito, iisa ang mangyayari rito. Sasakay ko ang presidente sa aeroplano kahit sino pang humarang. Arestado siya for 1829 for obstruction of justice, no? Pero, well, option ko naman yun kung ituloy or hindi. Pero sa ngayon, nasa sa kanya rin yan. Gusto niya ituloy namin, sige, tingnan natin. I have the option actually to present him for inquest nung gabi na yun. Sige, paano lang tayo? Regular filing tayo in the exigency of the situation. Kita naman ng lahat kung anong nangyari.
The CIDG chief maintains they extended all forms of courtesy to the former president. He also apologized to the public for the special treatment given to Duterte, whose camp caused some delays in what should have been a straightforward process.
Ang inupuan niya, upuan ng presidente ng Pilipinas yun. Hindi na siya presidente ng Pilipinas. Isipin mo naman yun. Anong klaseng bent backwards yun? That is the 250th Airlift Wing, which is the presidential airlift wing of the Republic of the Philippines. Ang upuan niya, presidential chair. And he is an arrested person. Oh, sige nga. Hindi ba special treatment yun? Pasensya na po kayo, talagang napakalaking special treatment ang ibinigay natin sa former President Duterte. Para wala lang gulo at mapagbigyan ang lahat ng kanyang kahilingan. First choice namin doon, si Hanilet. Ayaw sumama. So, pili kami ng isang abogado. Ang nag-volunteer nga si E.S. Medialdea. Kaya nga, na-delay pa yun.
Okay.
Kasi nga, nagpalit pa ng manifest. Nagpalit ng manifest dahil ang nakasulat sa manifest si Hanilet eh.
The CIDG hopes some personalities will adhere to their promise to surrender to the ICC if an arrest warrant is issued against them. Jeff Caparas, ABS-CBN News.
The Philippine military and police deny some of their personnel have resigned to protest the arrest of ex-President Duterte. An armed forces spokesperson insists there's no basis to reports which claim Duterte's arrest has caused unrest in the military. Colonel Francel Margaret Padilla urged Filipinos to exercise restraint and to stop spreading unconfirmed information. A police spokesperson also branded as fake supposed social media accounts of officers dismayed by Duterte's arrest.
Tinanong ko po sir yung personnel, so far wala pa naman po. There are certain ethical standards and norms po within the PNP in expressing your views. Especially na alam natin na ang PNP po is an apolitical and non-partisan organization. Again, we respect their views, but in airing these views po, now while you're inside the PNP, short of saying you are being partisans already and non-partisans already, and then hindi po yun sa tingin namin tama po.
Rodrigo Duterte is spending his first night in detention at the International Criminal Court. The arrested ex-Philippine president was turned over to the court Thursday after he arrived at The Hague via a chartered jet. Duterte has yet to face the tribunal, but he already takes full responsibility for police actions during his bloody war on drugs. We have this report.
Former President Rodrigo Duterte was officially turned over to the International Criminal Court's Judicial Cooperation Division officials upon his arrival at the Rotterdam-The Hague airport. Prior to landing, the former president delivered a message to his supporters.
For all of the whatever happened in the past, ako na yung nag-front sa ating law enforcement at military. Sinabi ko na I will protect you and I will ako ang managot sa lahat. This will be a long legal proceedings. But I say to you, I will continue to serve my country at so be it. Kung ganun ang destiny ko.
Analyst says there are several firsts in Duterte's arrest by the ICC.
This is the first case, I think, that is going to deal with a situation that is not from sort of war or election-related violence. This is basically about extrajudicial killings within the so-called drug war. So it's basically about a president ordering its forces to sort of clean up the streets from alleged narco-traffickers, which led to thousands of civilian deaths. So I think it's also in that sense special, and of course is the first case that relates to Asia that is leading to a trial. So in many ways it's really a first.
She also sees a trial happening sometime next year because the pre-trial will take months to conclude. Duterte was arrested for murder charges, one of the crimes against humanity where the ICC has jurisdiction. It was in 2021 when the ICC investigation began. Though the Philippines has already withdrawn from the ICC in 2019, the crimes being investigated were committed when the country was still a member. The prosecutor of the ICC hails Duterte's arrest as an important moment for victims of his brutal drug war.
And the fact that it's been executed is important to victims. It means a lot, I think, to victims. That's the feedback we've already received. And many say that international law is not as strong as we want, and I agree with that. But as I also repeatedly emphasize, international law is not as weak as some may think.
Meanwhile, Duterte's daughter, Vice President Sara Duterte, has also arrived in the Netherlands to help organize the legal team for her father. She was assisted by the Dutch Foreign Ministry and the Dutch National Police Corps. Upon the embassy's representation, the Netherlands immigration authorities granted those who escorted the former president, including his nurse and aide, 2-day visas to enable them to rest and recover for their return flight. Former Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea was also issued a 15-day visa as counsel of the former president and has been granted permission to visit Duterte at the ICC detention center. And because it's winter season in Europe, the embassy also delivered winter clothing and care packages for the former president. Meantime, the Justice Department says the investigation on other key personalities in Duterte's drug war is underway. Undersecretary Nicolas Felix T. says former PNP chief and now Senator Ronald De La Rosa and retired police chief Oscar Albayalde are among the key figures in the ongoing probe.
Hindi kami privy kung sino talaga yung kung anong status ng investigation sa ICC, but ang alam lang namin, nabibig namin sa mga bali-balita, nakasama sila sa mga ina-investiga.
The Undersecretary, however, says no arrest warrants have been issued against De La Rosa or Albayalde.
The arrival of ex-Philippine President Duterte at The Hague was greeted with protests by his supporters and critics. Pro-Duterte protesters insist the former leader was unjustly arrested. Filipino human rights advocates say it's time for Duterte to be held accountable for his alleged crimes. A Philippine lawmaker who was detained during the Duterte administration says Senator Alan Peter Cayetano deserves to be imprisoned at The Hague with ex-President Duterte. Former Senator Laila de Lima made the remark after Cayetano claimed Duterte was denied due process by the Marcos Jr. administration. De Lima says Cayetano has no moral ascendancy to talk about human rights. The former senator was released from 6 years in detention after the drug cases filed by the Duterte administration against her were all dismissed.
Alan Peter's defense of the EJKs and the drug war is well known. In fact, he should be one of those accused and arrested by the ICC together with Duterte. He enabled, encouraged, and goaded the deadly criminal enterprise that was a summary execution of poor Filipinos in the name of a fake drug war.
Cayetano fired back at De Lima. He claims the former senator is only interested in getting rid of her political enemies.
In the next few days po, hindi lang si Senator Bato yan ang gusto ni Senator De Lima at ng iba nilang mga kaanib, gusto nila pong ubusin ang mga kalaban nila sa politika. Dahil hindi po to human rights agenda para kay Senator De Lima, ito ay isang political agenda.
A petition seeking the release of ex-Philippine President Duterte is filed with the Supreme Court by his son, Davao City Congressman Paulo Duterte. It was filed on his behalf Wednesday by former Duterte administration spokesman Harry Roque. Adrian Ayalin has tonight's top story.
Davao City 1st District Representative Paulo Duterte has filed an encompassing petition for habeas corpus, certiorari, and prohibition before the Supreme Court for his father, former President Rodrigo Duterte. The petition, which also sought for the issuance of a temporary restraining order and preliminary injunction against government authorities, was filed by attorney Harry Roque Wednesday. Duterte stressed in the petition that the respondents, led by Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, should desist from cooperating with the International Criminal Court and the International Criminal Police Organization, or the Interpol. Duterte also claimed that the actions of government officials involved in the arrest and detention of his father were unconstitutional and illegal. Like the other petitions, Duterte anchored his petition on the withdrawal of the Philippines from the Rome Statute in 2019 during the administration of his father. Duterte said the ICC lost its jurisdiction at the time the prosecutor requested the pre-trial chamber for authority to conduct preliminary investigation. There are currently 4 petitions pending before the Supreme Court, including those filed by the former president, Senator Ronald De La Rosa, Davao City Mayor Sebastian Duterte, and Veronica or Kitty Duterte. All 4 petitions are essentially asking for the same thing: ignore the ICC and the Interpol, stop everything that is happening in the Netherlands, and declare Duterte a free man. The 3 petitions for habeas corpus filed by the Duterte siblings were consolidated by the Supreme Court. The court also asked respondent government officials to show cause within 24 hours why a writ of habeas corpus should not be issued. Meantime, the Department of Justice said it will answer all petitions through the Office of the Solicitor General. DOJ Assistant Secretary Miko Clavano, however, insisted that the arrest of the former president was in accordance with local and international laws and rules. He also underscored the importance of cooperation with the Interpol.
Malaking mawawala sa atin kung umalis tayo sa Interpol. Dahil ang trend ngayon sa buong mundo ay transnational organized crime. Kumbaga, yung mga kriminal, lilipat tayo ng ibang bansa, hindi na natin mahuhuli yung mga yon. So it's very crucial na makipag-ugnayan pa din tayo sa Interpol.
DOJ Undersecretary Nicolas T. also reiterated the Rome Statute was followed, particularly Article 59, which provides that a person arrested should have been brought to a competent judicial authority.
Ang nagsilbi bilang competent authority dito ay kami, ang Department of Justice. At in fact, yung Prosecutor General natin, napirmahan na niya yung certification at pinadala na natin sa ICC dahil ito ay isa sa kanilang mga requirements bago ma-turn over si PRRD sa kanila.
T insisted that the DOJ has quasi-judicial functions, including the determination of arrests, as valid. Adrian Ayalin, ABS-CBN News.
Philippine Senator Ronald De La Rosa says he will surrender to the International Criminal Court if it orders his arrest. De La Rosa once implemented the Duterte drug war as national police chief. He admits his family is troubled by speculation that he will also be brought to trial at The Hague. But De La Rosa says he expects the Philippine Senate to come to his defense.
Kung lalabas yung warrant of arrest ko, at ako ipapahuli talaga ng ating gobyerno, then I will avail of the protection that is going to be afforded to me by the Senate. I will turn in myself kapag meron akong warrant at i-serve sa akin ang warrant. I will turn in myself. Huwag po kayo mag-alala. Of course, my children, my daughters are crying. They were crying when I told them this, and my wife was so worried that sabi naman ng wife ko, I respect your decision.
Philippine shares bucked a regional decline due to strong foreign buying. Michelle Ong has Thursday's market action.
Asian stocks fluctuated in tight range Thursday, following 2 weeks of heightened volatility from a tit-for-tat trade war between America and its partners and now growing recession fears in the U.S. These cut short Wednesday's gains following cooler than forecast U.S. inflation data. Japan bucked the downtrend as the yen also strengthened after Bank of Japan Governor Kazuo Ueda said he expects real wages and consumer spending to improve. Philippine shares also outperformed, supported by nearly $500 million in net foreign buying.
The rally could be quite sustainable given that it comes with the strengthening of the peso. So normally the peso is the leading indicator. So we like the direction the peso is headed. Although it's in the support area pattern, 57 per US dollar. We think that if it holds at this level, we could see quite a rally even from this level. We have to see first if we can break 6,300, but if we can make a sustained break, 6,600 should be quite easy. Valuations are quite attractive at this level, so we just need some catalyst.
In corporate stories, Philinvest Lad reports an 11% growth in net income attributable to parent to 4.17 billion pesos as revenues and other income rose 8% to 24.5 billion. The Gutianon-led developers cite 6% growth in residential real estate revenues, 9% growth in rental, and steady reservation sales. Meanwhile, dually listed Del Monte Pacific Limited posts a net loss of $36 million in its fiscal third quarter ending January 31, 2025, primarily due to higher operational costs and increased interest expenses at its U.S. subsidiary. And finally, Manila water rates are set to increase by 4 centavos per cubic meter starting April. This follows regulatory approval of a recommendation to implement the foreign currency differential adjustment for the second quarter of the year. The MWSS clarifies, though, West Zone concessionaire Maynilad will not be adjusting its rates at this time. The FCDA is a tariff mechanism that allows concessionaires to recover losses or return gains resulting from fluctuations in foreign exchange rates. Michelle Long, ABS-CBN News.